Places of worship are on high alert heading into their weekend following the deadly shooting at a Houston megachurch.
Now, this keeps people like security teams and training companies busy with safety as a top priority. GMIT's Andrea Valdez shows us how these groups are protecting church members.
Anytime there's a recent shooting, especially since it was so close here in Texas, everyone's sort of concerned about safety at large gatherings, including churches.
Mike Collins of Green Acres Baptist Church expresses that with the Lakewood shooting happening right here in Texas, his security team is on standby, posting at entrances during service.
We've taken measures to make sure that we have security in the worship center and then also out in the doors and in the hallways so that we can catch any threat.
Green Acres also helps provide security training for other places of worship without their own security teams.
A lot of churches are sort of late in getting a safety team set up, so we've been sort of helping them and working with them.
Meantime, Ray Barron with Freedom Defense Training has seen over 100 houses of worship, creating security plans and teams to keep congregations safe.
A lot more people are being proactive about what they're going to do, and especially houses of worship. They're kind of a light in the community, and evil doesn't always like that.
Recently, the Department of Homeland Security released this 16-page guideline for places of worship, covering topics like identifying threats to response and recovery plans. But Barron says that it may not fit all religious organizations.
It's a good package detail. The problem with it is it's not always a one-size-fits-all. So that's where we can come in as a company and we can kind of customize what they need.
Before bringing someone like Barron to train the team, he recommends doing a thorough screening of the members, from background checks and security experience to testing their communication skills.
When you call in a professional or a subject matter expert, it helps you understand, okay, these are the critical steps we need to take.
For Good Morning East Texas, I'm Andrea Valdez.
Barron says along with teaching active shooter response, he teaches skills like stopping the bleed, bomb threat response, and security threat procedures.